So we're here talking about our New York Times Top Stories app again. It basically encompasses everything we've done in Unit 4 so far, including at the end, if we have time, we'll add in some animations there and gestures, right? If we took a look at the GIF I sent out on Saturday or whatever day it was, it shows like when I click on one of my collection cells, it does a transition animation, right? So we'll get to that point, if not in the morning, in the afternoon, if we continue on there, okay? So for now, our app has 3 tabs. It has a news feed, it has saved articles, and it has a settings, right? To keep up with what we've been doing so far, I think the next relevant place to jump in is user defaults with our picker view. We could go into there, or we could go into our saved articles collection view cell. For now, I think we'll just go into our collection view cell on our saved articles. Because we stopped on Friday, we've been able to click on our bookmark and seeing a print statement, correct? To refresh our memories, if I go to my detail view and I click on my bookmark, we should see there are 17 articles, 18 articles, 19 articles. As I'm clicking, it's saving to our documents directory, right? And we use custom delegation for that, because right now I don't have to go to the view to see the change. The change happens with custom delegation. Yes? Cool. And part of the homework was to go back and see the code we did to set up the delegation there. So if we had any questions, we would bring it back today, because tomorrow the questions are more like clarification questions, not like, oh, how do I do custom delegation? Okay, so if I go back to my saved article view controller, right? My saved article view controller, if we see what's going on here, in my view did load, where am I? In my view did load, I have my fetch saved article. I'm looking at the saved article view controller. In the view did load, this is not good here. We're doing that already. In my view did load, I have fetch saved articles. We all have that? Great. And also, I'm calling fetch saved articles in my protocol method for my did save item. So every time I click on the bookmark, this is where that fetch saved articles is getting called, and it adds or it increments the articles. So if you want to see exactly our output, as I did here, have a fetch save articles in your did save. Everybody? Cool. We could go ahead and remove the item was saved because it's already getting printed. And run your app again, and please verify that it's incrementally adding as you click on that bookmark. So go to any article. Let me make this bigger. Go to any article and click on the bookmark. At this point, I have 22 articles saved. So persistence does work. If I keep clicking on the bookmark, it will keep saving. Everybody? Confirmation? All right, awesome. Okay, so we have articles coming in. This is good. So now we could go ahead and set up our UI. And keep in mind, I'm still on my newsfeed tab. I never went over to my saved articles, but my saved articles gets the updates. Do we see that? Right? As opposed to having something in view will appear or something, I don't have to navigate to the tab for the change to happen. Everybody? Because we're using delegation there, right? Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and set up some view. I think we had to-dos here. Look at that. So let's go ahead and do the first to-do. Create a saved article view. So let's go ahead and create a saved article view. I'll just copy the saved article view name. I'll go to my view section. I'll command N, and I will create Cocoa Touch class. And it's a subview of what? UI view. Subview of UI view, and the class name is saved article view. Saved article view, click next, and create. I'm in my saved article view. Tomorrow, if I'm doing my views, I have my snippets, so I just say create custom view, and I change the name of my class to saved article view, right? So today I'll take time to make sure I have my code snippets ready. So this is not what I'm typing. So our saved article view only has a collection view. The collection view will take up the entire space of the view. So we'll go ahead and set up a collection view. UI collection view. Even that you can make a snippet for, right? Is that what I'm hearing? Amini? Yes, you could also do that too. But knowing how to explain it to your IA is very important. Like how do you set up a collection view and what's the requirements? Like it needs a layout, right? So layout, UI, collection view, flow layout. And my layout direction will be, in our case, vertical. Then we go to creating our collection view, UI collection view, with frame, cgrect.0, and the layout is layout. We'll give it some background color. Do I have empty state there? Okay. Somebody please remind me about empty state regardless of where we are today, preferably before, actually we'll do the empty state right when we set up our collection view. So collection view background, what's the background right now? We have white, right? So maybe anything but white. Yellow. Yes? Is that like as you just started typing today? See if you're missing something. Did you do a get clone or something? Yeah. What have you added so far? If nothing, you like click the folder. There could be artifacts there because Xcode has a lot of files it processes. So in the process, maybe something didn't get compiled correctly. So you just clean the folder and then you run again. Cool? Okay, so background color, yellow. What else we have to set up here? This is looking good. Okay, cool. We could give it some item size here. We'll change the item size later, but for now we could say CG size, give it a default item size of say 100 by 100. Again, this is the first place we set that up, but we can go ahead and override it in our view controller in the item size protocol method. Yes? Very similar to what we did there with our collection view frame. We said the frame is 0, but we'll go ahead and auto layout and give it a layout there. Okay, cool. So that's good. Anybody still typing collection view? So those are one of the things you could do a snippet for, right? Again, a refresher with a snippet. I go ahead and highlight what I want to make a code snippet of. Yes, yes. And I right click on it. I go down to where it says create code snippet. And here I could simply say create collection view. And the big important part of it is the completion. So here I could simply say create collection, I'll just keep everything lowercase, create collection view, and that's it. So again, tomorrow I'm not spending time on this. I could just simply say create collection view, and I get my create collection view. Cool? Anybody still typing? Cool. All right, so let's keep going here. So we have our common init. Next, we'll go ahead and create some sort of private function to set up our collection view constraints. We'll make sure to call up our setup constraints. And we will start by, Yulia, what's the first thing we do here in our constraints? Add subview, so we're adding the collection view. Tanya, what's the next thing we're doing here with our collection view?
Set the thing to false.
So translating, right? That's what assuming the thing is, right? Okay, cool. So here we're saying we're taking care of auto layout by setting auto resizing mask to false. And then we go to set up our layout constraint, activate all our constraints. And here we declare our array of constraints. We'll say the collection view that top anchor will be constrained to the safe area top. So safe area guide dot top. Next, we'll say our collection view lead-in will be constrained to the lead-in of our super view. And next, we'll say collection view dot bottom constraint will be layout to what here, Chelsea? My bottom is constrained to what? To the safe area, very good. So here, safe area bottom. And lastly, we'll have the trailing. So collection view dot trailing anchor constraint to trailing anchor of super view. Awesome. So here we have 4 constraints. Top, leading, bottom, trailing. And we made sure to call our setup collection view constraints. And make sure you call your common init. Make sure your code snippet is such that it has a common init in there. And all that stuff is being called. I mean, in reality, you could probably make a whole code snippet of this if you have some sort of view controller with the whole collection view, right? Does that make sense? Right? Because we come in those situations a lot where we have the whole view controller taking up the collection view takes up the whole view. So this would be a good one. Right? Cool? Great. Still typing? Awesome. So now we have our setup article view. Let's go to our setup article view controller. So we did line 17. So we set up, or we created our saved article view. We could remove that to do. Next it says add collection view. Look at that, we're on fire. We did this one. Collection view is vertical. Pretty much did that. Well, not really, not yet. Okay, let's do this one. So add saved article view to the view controller. Let's do that step. Since it's a constant, I'll put it at the top. And I'll say let saved article view equal to saved article view. And right above my view did load, I will simply implement load view, and I'll say view gets assigned my setup article or my saved article. Did I call it articles? No. Saved article view. So with that, we've done line 20. We added the saved article view to the view controller. We also created an array. Hold on, we had no to-dos for the weekend, huh? Okay. Collection view is vertical. It's vertical, but we haven't done the 2 cells per row yet. Awesome. Good? Type in? All right, awesome. So we have our collection view. Let's go ahead and set it up here. So here I'll just say set up collection view. And we have our saved article view dot collection view dot data source equal to self. We know we need the delegate as well, so we'll say saved article view dot collection view dot delegate equals self. We're getting errors now because we need to go ahead and conform to the methods or have an extension for that, for the delegate especially, but the data source we need to conform and implement the two required methods. Cool? Okay, so let's go to the bottom here. We have our extension on our data persistence. We'll just go above here, go above our data persistence delegate and create an extension here on our saved view article controller. We'll first conform to UI collection view data source. And we'll also conform to saved UI collection view delegate. Not just delegate, but flow delegate, right? And the reason why we're saying we're conforming to UI collection view delegate flow layout is especially because of the item size, right? The item size, that method is part of UI collection view delegate flow layout, okay? Our regular did select item is part of the regular delegate, but the bigger delegate for collection view flow layout, that's the one we need to implement. So just go ahead and always just implement the delegate flow layout for your collection view. Okay, next up, we'll go inside of our collection view data source and we'll implement number of items. So number of items. And here we'll return, as we said before, we'll return some test data. So here I could just return 40. And I'll also implement cell for row, cell for item, cell for item, not cell for row, sorry. Cell for item, and here we'll simply say let cell equal to collection view, cell equal to collection view dot dequeue reusable cell. We'll call our cell saved article cell index path and return cell. And we'll give our cell some color. So cell dot background color equal to system background. We'll come back and implement item for size, but for now we should just test our collection view and see if it actually renders cells.
Sorry, this is the first time that we're giving it a use identifier.
Yes. So as we run the app, something might happen, right? Let's see. This is tomorrow here. I'm running my collection view. And I'm clicking on my saved articles, and I get a crash. Then I start panicking. But I don't panic, right? Because I've seen this before. Right? Do we all get the crash? Do we get the crash? Yes? No? Yulia? I cannot run it because you had errors before. Wait, which errors? Delegate, all what you had to do for the delegate was conform to the delegate here. If you implemented the data source methods and the delegate flow layout, at this point you shouldn't have any more errors.
controlling that.
Luba, what's it? What's that? I'm sorry.
Like for extension, make sure you have your controller.
The things we see that we somewhat not struggling exactly, but that thing that stops you, make sure that you conquer it today. Like whatever it is, like if it is misspelling your extension view controller, right? Just make a note of it so that if it's happening, you know where to go back. Does that make sense? Cool. Okay, so at this point we ran the app and we did get a crash or we did not get a crash. We got a crash, right? So May, was that you? How do I resolve that crash, or what's even the crash saying to us?
Well, we don't have a cell.
So May says that we don't have a cell. Do everybody agree? Right here it says you must register a nib or a class for identifier or connect some prototype cell. It's telling you everything you need to know. Either you having a nib, either you have some storyboard cell, or you do it in code, right? Those three ways there. One of those ways we have to do it. So we'll go ahead and we'll register a cell. May, where are we registering the cell and how are we registering the cell?
We would register it in the feed code.
Okay, so May says to register it in the view load. So here we'll say register cell, and we'll say saved article view, collection view. We'll say register. We're not registering a nib, right? We're not coming from a nib, but we're coming from a cell class, right? So we'll say register cell class. And here we'll simply say UI collection view cell, that's self. And the reuse identifier, we called it saved article. Make sure it's the same spelling. Saved article cell. As a matter of fact, copy it. Copy it and make sure you pasted the same thing in your cell for row, okay? To avoid having that next error. So just make sure the two of them are the same. Or you could always create a constant. So saved article cell, make sure you register your cell and make sure it's the same identifier here. So either you copy it or you make some sort of constant, and it should be the same here. So at this point, we'll run the app again and see if we have our 40 cells. So I'll go over to my saved articles, and I have cells, right? Great. Do we all see cells on our saved article? Yes? What's that? Nothing. Why do we have 3? Because right now we hard-coded 100 by 100. Right? Back in our collection view setup. But now here, we could come here and say, hey, go ahead and lay out yourself based on the width and give it like dimensions there. So now we'll go ahead and do that. So next up, we'll go in our flow layout, and we will say item size. So start typing out item size in your flow layout, delegate, item size, press enter. At this point, you should get populated size for item at. Do we all have that method? So that method, what does it return? It returns a CG size. What's a CG size? A CG size is the width and the height of some view. In our case, that's going to be the width and the height of the cell. Okay? So here we'll do some logic to return the item width such that it's half the width of the device. Okay? So let's start off by creating some variables or constants here. We'll say max width or max size is some CG size. And this we'll get from UI screen, dot main, dot bounds, dot size. So we're not typing that all over again if we need to. And next we'll say the item height. Item height is some CG float. And here we'll say max size dot height, and we'll give it some percentage here. For now, we'll say 30%. We could change this later. We'll say spacing will be some CG float. And here we'll say 10. So the spacing between items, I guess I could put that right here. spacing between items, okay? And we'll also have some number of items, also CG float, and we'll set 2, right? Great. And now we need to calculate our item width. Item width is a CG float. And lastly, we'll return CG size. Width is item width, and height is item height. But 0 is not enough. This is not what we want to return. We don't want to return 0 for the width. So let's go ahead and make some calculations for that. For that, we will start off by saying the left and the right will be equal. So we'll say 2 times spacing between items. So that's the leading and the trailing here. Then we'll add that to some number. We'll say number of items minus 1, because we do not want to calculate that second item. Then we'll multiply that by spacing between items. And we need to implement one more method because I don't think the default is 10. So we're assuming this is 10 here for the section insets. The section insets, again, to review, the section insets of a collection view is the leading space, the trailing space, the top space, and the bottom space, okay? We'll explicitly return 10 for all those spaces. So we'll implement section insets great. And section insets will return UI edge insets, and here those are the values, right? So the top, we'll make all of them even. The top will be 10, left 10, bottom 10, and right 10. Let me double check the defaults for this real quickly. Actually, you could go ahead and type. I'll just check on this to see the defaults of this. Inset for section. Insets for section. It doesn't clearly give me the default value, but we'll come back to that. But for now, we know we're returning 10. Everybody, right? Everybody, okay? So you have your collection view. The leading, you could give it some spacing of the collection view. We're saying we give it 10. The trailing, you could give it some spacing between the first cell, right? So you give it 10. The top, you could also give it some spacing. We say we give it 10 as well, so that the cell doesn't exactly hit the top edge. And the bottom is the same. So basically, the spacing around your collection view.
Between the cells and
Not between the cells, between the collection view. Right? So let me go here and show us what's happening. 1 second, coming right back. So here we have our collection view, right? Yes? So when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about this spacing here. That's the section insets, okay? So we have the top.
Is that the same as your padding?
Yeah, you could call it that. Yes, exactly. You have the top, you have leading, you have trailing, and you have bottom. Cool? Excellent. All right, let's run this and see what we have. That's not what we want.
Instead of putting plus, put time between the two.
Where am I?
Right there, instead of the plus. No.
We have plus here.
Well, when you put times, it looks better.
1 second. 2 times the spacing between. Oh, this is not. No, that's good. 2 times spacing between. Number of items is 2.
Are you adding that specifically?
Oh, we're not done with this. So item width here. This is the total spacing. So this is the total spacing, and then we need to do our item width. We were running away from ourselves here. CG float. Now that's going to be equal to my max size minus total spacing divided by number of items. Total spacing, CG float, what's not a float? Oh, CG size, this guy is width. What we just did there was the spacing, not the item width before, right? Then we need to take the item width, say the maximum width of the device minus the total spacing we just calculated, divided by the number of items we want. And now we have our 2 items, right? And if we scroll all the way down, so the padding looper that we're talking about is the bottom here. So now you see they're all even. Cool? Great. Okay. Also create a code snippet for this, right? Again, that's not where we should be spending the heart of our time tomorrow. Next, let us now, since we're saving articles already, everybody was able to save articles? Was everybody able to save articles?
Yes.
Okay, since we're able to save articles, we'll remove our hard-coded number of 40 here and return saved articles.count. That should be enough. Let's run it again and see what we have. Whatever count you have should be populated at this point. So if I go back to my saved articles, it's hard to say what I have. For us, we could actually delete the app. Go to your app, delete it. So delete your app. So that deletes all your data. Apple tells you here, deleting this app will also delete your data, right? So delete all your data. So it deletes everything from documents directory, yes? So delete that and run the app again. Oh, that's gonna be a good place for us to do the empty state. All right, very good. So here we have no items, correct? Correct? Okay. It would be good to give the user some way, like an empty screen is not enough for the user. You maybe want to tell the user, hey, no saved articles, maybe start browsing, okay? So let's take a small tangent and go create an empty view that will take in some message. Go back to item width. So go ahead and create a Swift file, subclass of UI view, and call it empty view. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So we go into our view section, and we're creating a new file, subclass UI view, and we're calling it empty view. Okay, subclass of UI view, it's called empty view, and we say create. Okay, cool. And we know what we're doing here. We'll use our code snippet here, create custom view. It's called empty view. On our empty view, what does it take? It will have a title and a message. Okay? So we start off by saying public, lazy var title, label is of type UI label, let label equal to UI label, return label, and we also have a second label called message label. It's for an empty state. So when our app runs, for example, if there's no articles, we'll give the user some text saying, go ahead and save some articles, so start browsing, right? Because that's not good UX, UI, to give the user an empty screen without some explanation as to what's going on. All right, so great. So what do we need here? We'll start off our title label. We'll give it a font, UI font, preferred font style, something bigger. Let's start off with headline and subheadline for now. We could change it later. So headline, and for our message, we'll make it subheadline. Our label, number of lines. Here, we'll make it 1. And for our message, we'll make it, say, 4. And let's do the alignment as well. So label.text alignment, we'll say center. And we'll also say center. Okay. Next, let's go ahead and set up our constraints. So private function setup, title, label, constraints, add subview, title label that translates auto resize and mask set to false. I actually want to set up, let's set up the message first. So function setup message label constraints. I want a message label to be centered, so I'll place it first. So add subview message label dot text translate in mask equal to false, and we'll center the message label here. So message label or NS layout constraints dot activate. I want to set the message label first. It's going to be centered of the whole view, and then I'll put the title above it. Very good. So activate constraints here. Our message label, as we said, will make it center X and Y to the super view. Here, center X And next we'll say message label dot center y constrained to center y. And we'll give it some margin, left and right. So we'll say margin or center, lead in, anchor, constraint, lead in with some constant of 8. And lastly, message label, trailing, constraint equal to trailing. And here we say constant of -8. So we'll set up our message first, and then we'll set up our title. And for the title, we'll put the title above the message, right? So title goes above the message. In that case, we'll say title label dot bottom constraint equal to message label what? Top. Awesome. And some constant. What's the constant?
Or what if okay, well, or doesn't have any
I want some padding, but what is it? Negative or positive?
positive.
Negative, right? You want it to go up.
Oh,
Yeah.
but my question is, it's alright. So the message labels in the center of
Why do I keep doing this?
it's gonna take up the entire.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, go ahead.
It's taking up the entire view.
Yes, it's going to take up the entire view, correct. So here, this is this, and it takes up the entire view. So bottom is this is good. Next, we'll say title label dot. The bottom is good. We'll say lead in. Constraint equal to its super lead in with some constant of 8. And lastly, we'll say title label dot trailing constant trailing constant of -8. Yeah, so the point of the empty state is going to take up the entire view. Okay, we'll see how to do that with the collection view. The collection view has a property called background view. We'll set that background view if it's empty. Okay, cool, great. Make sure to call up your setup title label constraints, and make sure to call your setup message label constraints, and let's give them some default text. So here we'll say label.text equal to empty state, and we'll say label.text here. There are no items currently in your collection. Okay. Next, we will go ahead and remove this initializer and create our own initializer. Okay? We still need the required initializer, but we'll go ahead and remove this initializer here and create our own initializer that takes in a message, string, well, title. It takes in a title and a message. Okay?
For the title, we're doing the other side.
Say that again? The title label, one second, guys. The title label, the constraints are such that the bottom is the top of the message, the lead-in is lead-in, and the trailing is the trailing of the super view, with some padding here. Cool, very good. Okay, so here let's call super. So super dot init with frame, and we'll say UI screen dot main dot bounce. Right, so the user of this empty state will be using the empty state via our initializer. Right, they say empty view. They say empty view, they're passing a title and a message, and that's it. Okay? And we need to go ahead and set those values. So here we'll say self dot title label dot text equal to title, and self dot message label dot text equal to message. We don't even need this here. No need for self here. Oh, sorry. We require to have it. We need initializer. Stop arguing. Self before super init. What's happening here now? Order of calling is different. Okay, so we call super first, and then we call our super init. Do we still require to have this? I'd rather move this if we don't require to move that. Okay, I'll leave it without self here, because we have no title label coming into the argument here, so no need for self, because they're not the same. Go ahead.
So what's the difference if we would leave that init is frame?
If we leave the init with frame,
Yeah.
let's see. So if we just take this out here and build it, it will still use init with frame, but we don't want to use init with frame here. No need for having it. It's not required, no need to have it. Okay? Because the only way we want those people to use our empty state, our empty view, is via this initializer here. Right? But thank you that you brought that up, because actually, this is good. Since we have it, we could just have common init here. If not, we'd have to have common init in here as well, because it still calls init with frame. Okay? All right, cool. We did a bunch of code here. Let's go ahead and try to use it. Make sure you call in your setup message label in your common inits. And okay, let's go test this out. Let's go to our saved article view controller. Do we have a did set there somewhere? Okay, perfect. In that did set, leave there are X amount of items, but here we'll write some logic. So we'll say if saved articles, at some point this will autocomplete. We'll say if saved articles is empty, set up our view. So set up our empty view, else remove the empty view. Remove empty view from collection view. Yeah. We could say collection view background view, and set up our empty view on the collection view background view. Okay, what does that look like? We have a collection view here. We'll get it from our saved articles view, dot collection view. Collection view has a property called background view. And background view takes in any view. It's optional because it could be nil. Everybody with me? Everybody with me? So if you want to add in an image or whatever you want to add on your collection view, this is the way to do it. Table views have the same thing, right? So here we could say background view equal to empty view initializer. And here, Yulia, we're not using frame. We're using title and message. And for title, we'll simply say saved articles. And for the message, we'll say There are currently no saved articles. Start browsing by tapping on the news icon. And if there are items, we'll say saved article view, that collection view, that background view, equal to what? Nil. Very good. Awesome. Equal to nil. Remove the thing. Oh, yes.
Sorry, can you explain the background view again?
Background view is just a view the collection view has, and that could be set or not. And it's like a view. So if, for example, you first have your view, then you could have your items, whatever it is, it cells. So behind the cells, it would look like there's a view there if you have some sort of image view, for example. But in our example, we don't have an image view like a background image. We wanted to just replace the state of the collection view, right? So thankfully, we have this property view on a collection view or table view, and we could set that. Cool? Very good. Okay, let's fire it up and see what we have. Because there's a lot that could go wrong here, like the screen going off. 1 second. Hey, it's back. Okay, very good. If I click on my saved articles, I have nothing here. Let's see what's happening. Put a breakpoint on 30 and put a breakpoint on 27. We get in our empty state, right? I put a breakpoint in 27 here. I'll also put a breakpoint in my empty state and see what's happening. It initializes it, but does our comment init get called, right? So in my initializer, I'll also put a breakpoint. My init frame, I'll put a breakpoint, and I'll keep running my app. It calls my init, but my common init never gets called, right? So let's make sure we have our common init here. You see what we're doing, guys? This is what we need to do tomorrow when things are not going as planned. Put breakpoints and see what's going on.
So if that's the case, you might as well take out the.
Yeah, like this we don't need here.
Just put it in there.
Exactly, very good. So let's run it again. Breakpoints, right? They're awesome. So here I go to my saved articles. We have a breakpoint here. We know that's working already. We can move the breakpoints here. And right, at this point we have our empty state. Right? Everybody has the empty state showing. We could do other things. We could change the fonts whichever way we want there. But for now, that yellow, we kind of tired of the yellow for now because we know it works. So where do I have yellow here? Yellow on some image view, not this one. And then yellow on my collection view. So go back to your saved article view and remove the background color, yellow. Here you could put system background or system grouped background for the collection view. So your collection view color, feel free to change it to system group background, which is slightly creamish in color, like a white, off-white color. And let's run our app again and see what we have here. Click on my saved articles. Great, this looks better. And the system group background looks very similar to like a table view background, everybody, right? That color we get. So we have our empty state. Does our empty state work? At this point, we'll go try to save something, anything. Amazon bookstore, no second chances. Go here, click on that, go back to my saved articles, it's gone. Everybody? At this point, it's not empty, it removes my view, okay? Very good. Okay, let's take a break here and then we'll come back, cool? Any questions before we break? All right. We'll stop here.